Embrace got nerfed. There was mana changes on ADs. There's been fighter item changes. There was nerfs to Maokai. There's nerfs to Kassadin. There's nerfs to Heimerdinger. There's so many changes.
Yeah.
That is going to be a lot about, what did you actually figure out here? Caitlyn first pick, atypical from last week, definitely. Maokai was getting grabbed up so early, so often. We do see that Ksante is still available as well.
And I feel like Caitlyn could be a big winner from these Infinity Edge changes that you're talking about. This is a champion who is known for a strong early and a strong late with a power trough in the middle. If you get to have your big signature item as item number 2, you can really fill in that trough.
Absolutely. And one of the things we haven't touched on yet is that Lucian Nami got a lot of nerfs, right? They got individual nerfs on both of these two champions. So a lot of people, I think, are maybe feeling like, hey, you can get away with some picks that you couldn't get away with last time because Lucian Nami isn't there necessarily to punish you. Yuumi is gone as well. Ksante going to be taken away here from Fudge. I feel like that was a smart grab for Dhokla, as Fudge was just running rampant on this pick last week. But it does mean that on red side, you're blinding your top laner here. And we get Kalista, so theoretically this could actually be Kalista support or AD. That is a two-way flex.
Right.
We've seen Keria actually play both of these as support. If I had to guess, I'm expecting it to be Caitlyn support now for Zven and Kalista as the AD. Could be either way. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Zven can perform, because he was an AD for almost his entire career, right? He just swapped over to support last year. This guy has reached some incredibly high highs as an AD. They're also going to be able to grab, as I said, counterpick on blue side for top lane, which is really atypical in pro play. But because you needed to take away Ksante from Fudge, well, he gets the counterpick in now. And he's going to bring out that Fiora that we saw Revenge get a really big advantage against Solo with.
Right.
So we know this is a really strong matchup. We know that he can get the edge there. And it'll be interesting to see if he can execute on that.
And I always love to see players play both sides of a matchup, right? We got to see Fudge get MVP performances on Ksante back-to-back games in week 1. Now I'm ready to see how Fudge can deal with the champion himself. Wukong's going to be your final lock-in for the first half of the draft for CLG. So some roles are lined up, others are not. Both sides have what we assume is the support. Both sides have their top laner, but then a jungler and an AD carry means bans aren't exactly going to be the same, despite the fact that we did see some Maokai nerfs, despite the fact that we saw some Demonic Embrace nerfs. They're still looking at this as a powerful jungler, so CLG is going to take it off the table, keep it away from Blaber.
Absolutely, and I just think when you look at C9's comp, they need some sort of frontline, they need some sort of engage, unless they're going to hard commit to playing split push, right? Like, those are your two options. I'm expecting that they're going to want to draft some sort of engage, so banning away the Maokai just makes a lot of sense, right? It fits into that wheelhouse, gives you a little bit of frontline, because Caitlyn and Kalista are not your engage. I mean, you could throw the Caitlyn in there.
Cupcake's a front line. You might throw them on the ground. Make a line in the front.
They are a front line. Maybe not a good one, but they are in there. Udyr being taken away as well. Another really strong jungler on this patch. Kassadin's still getting banned out, despite some of the nerfs that have come through. Kassadin is incredibly strong, especially as a counter pick. So, banning it out on blue side, if you're feeling like, okay, they're going to save that their mid laner pick for last. Like, almost guaranteed they'll pick AD on 4 and then pick mid lane on 5, unless they want to do something really kind of crazy. This way, we can see C9 blind and AP mid, which they need, and not necessarily get punished by that.
I mean, Kassadin is a unique champion in that if he gets a draft that doesn't feel like it just completely shuts him down, he warps the entire game around himself.
And where's the CC? Cloud9 has no CC, right? So they do need to ban that out. Again, because we are expecting an AP mid, since they've drafted all physical so far for the first 3 for Cloud9, that becomes even more important. So it is the return of the CLG bot lane that we saw quite a bit at the beginning of last split when Enchanters came in there. Seraphine Karma. So really powerful here to actually group this up with some melee characters like the Wukong, like the Ksante. You can ult through them. You're buffing them up. You're speeding them up. Has really, really strong scaling as well. It's kind of less consistent damage, but when you can get in the later stages to multiple rounds of those shields, of those spells, it can become impossible to push through. So Cloud9 is hard committing to what I consider very early mid game here with Ahri Vi. So really great dive, really get engaged, but you're going to be having to dive through that potential Seraphine ult through. I think Swain would be a brilliant last pick here, because that's really all Cloud9's comp can do, is kind of run at you.
And Swain is so good traditionally in these Seraphine Deathball compositions as well. He loves the shielding, the healing, the power to just run in there and create this massive zone of threat and control that if your divers aren't insta-killing somebody, they're in no man's land all of a sudden.
Yep, but instead they are going to go towards Orianna. So, a lot more kind of traditional team fight mage here. They are quite AP heavy, I would say, on the CLG side as far as their damage profile. Obviously, they have Wukong. Obviously, they have Ksante in there as well. But this is going to be no marksman, and it's going to be a pretty tough composition to really kind of punch through here. For C9. They are going to be trying to look to dive in deep, take out those enchanters. Generally, when they draft these kind of like triple shielding ball comps, you have to kill someone off really, really fast, but it's very difficult to do because no matter who you actually jump on, if you go for Palafox or if you go for Luger, Poome and Palafox can shield him up. They can kind of peel for him, and you're trying to get through Wukong ult through that Orianna ult as well, which is going to be really, really difficult. Cloud9, I feel like they have to have a good laning phase here. With Caitlyn, it is going to be Caitlyn AD, and it is going to be...
But it was Cloud9 and FlyQuest that I think were the two standout teams for a lot of people in week number 1. So if there is a squad that I'm trusting you to say, okay, you put a timer on yourself, let's see you execute, Cloud9 would be one of those.
Absolutely, and they had some really strong laning performances as well, so definitely looking towards that. Will be pressure on them. We saw AG, one of our top teams from last year, obviously, fall short in what was a very early game draft where they went towards Elise. They were up nearly 10K, and they still lost that. So we've seen it happen quite a lot already.
And I like the fact that you bring up EG because it was Vulcan when he was up here on the desk for a TriCast that was talking about he likes to play the game from the perspective of the early game champion, the people who have the pressure on them to make the plays, because he says it's a lot more fun than sitting under your turret and just praying for 20 minutes to come along so you can play a game of League of Legends.
Yeah.
So Cloud9 will have themselves control over that steering wheel here in the early game. I got eyes on Blaber, on the Vi. We know how powerful this champion is to get things rolling nice and early.
That deep ward that they got through that bot lane invade, maybe they can get a little bit of cheesy damage here out of the start. It is a Q start for Caitlyn, so there's a potential of actually looking for something. And this could be a potential check here on the red buff. Fudge is queued over the wall. He can actually push Contractz off this. Contractz, I think, is going to have to leave this buff. This is actually so annoying. He gets both vitals.
Wow. Yeah,
Contractz has to flash or he's dead.
He's messing him up, man. Yeah, Contractz, he loses his buff. He loses his flash. He's so delayed. This is a terrible start in the jungle.
And you know why this wasn't even risky? Some people are going to say, that's cheesy, that's so risky. Look where they're showing. We see the mid laner here, we see the top laner here, right? Like, everyone is showing on the map, so there was not really any risk. All the other players were accounted for. Yep. Right? So they have that ward over. They know where Wukong's going to be starting. He just goes in on this solo invade. It's probably going to cost him, I didn't get to see exactly how many melees he lost, but my guess is he lost 2 to 3 melees worth of experience. So he is going to be down in XP. He's going to be down slightly in gold, but the advantage that Vi gets is so much more than what he has lost.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the minimap right now. Wukong is just starting his first camp here at 220, right? He had to fully base. It wasn't just that he flashed over the wall. He's starting a leashless red. By the time the full clear on the bot side is basically done for Blaber.
Essentially, Fudge traded 2 melee minions worth of EXP to DC his opponent for 1 minute.
Yeah.
That's a trade I think almost anybody would take.
And no flash. Wukong without flash is not really an early ganking threat, but look at Zven, he's getting aggressive.
Oh, Luger's at about 150 HP. The heal has to come out there just to make sure he's not too terribly low as C9's aggro early on here.
And I think just based on the Ignite cooldown, the fact that that's actually halfway up, so that deep ward that I talked, I think that was actually key there. My guess is that it was a level 1 Ignite play with the Hail of Blades to just get an early chunk, just based on the timings of that. Blaber now, cutting the map in half here, wants to play towards his bot side. He's saying, we know you're starting so late on top side. I'm going to come straight down here, steal your camps away, and he can threaten a potential dive here. He's going to wrap around them. They're going to have the push here. Remember, no heal, and there's no exhaust. Can he actually make this happen? Let's see if they can do it.
Ball breakers charge. Luger tries to get away, but it doesn't look like he's going to get there, my friends. First blood back up into Berserker.
They can redive.
Poome is at 250. They're going to force the flash out of there. Blaber with a follow. Zven with a follow. A little bit more damage is what they need, and they're going to find it. Blaber gets the kill, but now they got to try to escape. Zven's got no HP. Blaber's going to execute to the turret. That didn't count. That's not what he wanted to do. Okay, let's see if they can get the second one. Zven's still trying to get out of there. Luger's gonna walk on up. Sayonara, buddy. It ends up being 2 for 2 as the executes fail, but it's C9 pushing the pace.
Yep, it is that 2 for 2, but no assist gold given over, so that was still good to actually do that. And we have to remember, that's a TP from Ksante down to bot lane, so Palafox actually has to spend his TP top lane to cover that, because Ksante used his towards bot, and there's gonna be minions that were missed in mid lane as a result. So all told, I still think it's very C9 favored here. Really nice early game plan. They come down. This is just a poor flash from Luger. Yeah. He flashes in line with Blaber. What he's trying to do is flash over the back of that Vi. But the hitbox, if you're traveling straight towards him, it's really, really tough on the timing. So you need to flash more side to side there. Fails to flash a little bit, gets taken down, and then they're able to chase down and get a kill here. Yes, Blaber goes and dies to the turret, but this one, was just Karma. So you're giving no assist gold over and just that kill to that Karma instead of the Ksante. This one, unfortunately, will go to Seraphine, so you don't love that. But overall, they deny farm in bot. It's 36 CS to 19 in bot lane.
Yeah.
And you can see, still actually, I'm very impressed that CLG's soul lanes are ahead after all that. They're doing very well in the farm department. So credit to them. Palafox was able to pick up that pushing top wave. But even with Fudge getting a free wave reset, he is just about even. We do have to remember he gave up Riot on that first wave to actually get this whole jungle thing rolling. So there is some kind of fallout off of that, but I really like the early aggressive C9 plan. If you're going to draft early, you've got to be able to make these types of plays.
And they're up 900 gold thanks to it, despite those kills being even. Of course, most of that gold is exactly what you were talking about with Caitlyn versus Seraphine, that massive CS canyon between the two of them. And with C9 wanting to push the pace of this game, I like the fact that they have the Caitlyn on the marksman role instead of putting her on support, because we know the traditional Caitlyn plan: bust your lane open, take the turret, and then just start the Tour de Rift. Walk mid, do the same thing. Walk top, do the same thing. Cupcakes down around every neutral objective. And that's kind of what I'm expecting out of them, as you do have Blaber and Diplex taking over this bottom side river. They're going to go ahead and take this first Drake, no problem. It's not like they even need to back Blaber up. Diplex rotated down just in case, but they see that nobody's coming, and C9 are going to grab the first neutral objective in this game.
And Contractz actually spending a lot of time there. Got to highlight the levels between these two junglers. Contractz level 3, Blaber level 5. Contractz was expecting a potential another dive on that pushing wave. He knows that his bot lane is very far behind, so he's saying, all right, if they get dove again, it's actually GG. I gotta be here, maybe see if I can pull off a gank if they go over aggressive, or counter dive if Blaber is gonna look for a wraparound, but it doesn't happen, so he just wastes even more time there. Blaber being very efficient with his farming. Not only has he taken that dragon, he's up 4 or 5 camps.
I mean, it always feels bad to spend a lot of time looking for a gank that doesn't pay off as a jungler, but when you're already this far behind, it actually just feels like you're shoveling the dirt on top of your own coffin, because there's just no way you're going to contest this man at any point if you're 2 levels behind and still struggling to catch up. So it's going to be a tough game for Contractz. He's really going to need to find some sort of a good opportunity here to get himself back in.
Yeah, the one bright side I will say is that, you can kind of sit back and say, we're scaling, just minimize loss. A 1K gold lead, that's a pretty big deal at 7 minutes. If it's a 1K gold lead in 7 more minutes, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? It's not that big of a deal. So we'll see what they can do if they can continue just cycling his camps, look to try to avoid Blaber, just try to protect his lanes from dives. I think that's really his job. Whereas on the other side, Blaber just hit 6. So we want to see a very quick gank with this. If he can be effective, if he can get out on the map and get another kill here for his team immediately with this ultimate, it's going to spell good things for Cloud9.
And one thing I want to go ahead and mention as we're seeing what might turn into a fight here real quick. Let's see how far Blaber wants to take this. Just goes in, immediate quick trade. But the inventory of Dhokla, you can see the Thornmail there, or Bramble Vest, excuse me, which isn't normally a big thing to comment on, but 13.1b did change all of the Grievous Wounds items. It is no longer 25% on the baby ones, evolving into 50% conditionals on the huge ones. It's just 40% across the board. Yep. So that means that this is going to be much more effective in terms of being that, sorry Fiora, you don't get that do your laning pattern anymore like it used to be. I expect anytime you see Fiora, Bramble Vest is always going to be the play now more than ever.
It even got buffed individually. They were trying to make some of the items less efficient, but more about healing, right? By taking some stats off them. Bramble Vest actually got buffed, plus got the healing buff. So it's more damage return than it used to have. It's 6 damage return every time they hit you, plus the 40%. So, significantly stronger item here. And, early armor is going to be very, very effective against this team. In general, Ahri is not going to be able to focus the Ksante, and that's the only person you're really going to worry about, right? Like, if Ahri is focusing the Ksante, you're going to be winning the fight very likely here anyway. So, just the mythic that he's going to be going for will have enough MR and enough HP to kind of deal with that. And then you're just stacking armor. Like, I would love to see, even things like Frozen Heart this game, I think, can be incredibly effective against Fiora, Caitlyn, as well as that Kalista. So we'll see if he just wants to fully stack it. I
mean, a lot of Ksantes love starting off with the Iceborne Gauntlet. You go that into a Sunfire Cape, you're full build against this composition, right? You're having a great time. So Dhokla just continuing to farm up here, Fudge and him neck and neck here in terms of that CS count. As bottom lane, Luger and Poome, they got level 6 on the Seraphine. That's the one that really matters. The Encore can really, really determine the flow of a fight.
And Wukong is here. Wukong is hiding in this brush, or at least was right in there, and is 6. So they could look for this. If they actually lock them up, there's no cleanse on either players. The CC could be 100-0.
There it is. Contractz flashes. They look for Zven. The Encore hits nothing, but Berserker still might be dead. No, he's not. Zven has the save. Fate's Call brings the AD carry right on back. And this is sort of like with Kalista as support, it's almost like a Tom Kench support, just able to save that AD carry whenever you need it.
And that's why, they're gonna go for the counter gank now!
Blaber's ready to show him how it's done, but he won't find the kill. Luger survives with 100 HP. Everybody's body blocking. Protect the president. Don't let Berserker fire off the ace in the hole. All right, we're done. Everybody walks away.
Yeah, and that's why, even though it looked maybe a little bit silly, that is why they're going for Zven and not Berserker. Berserker was farther forward in the lane, but if you go into Berserker, it's just that Fate's Call comes through immediately and everything is wasted. So at the end of the day, again, it's Cloud9 going positive in these trades because it was just a support flash for Wukong flash ult and Luger's ult. Then in comes Blaber. Yeah, he spends his ult, but he gets flash and heal off of Luger. So, they're getting a lot more cooldowns here off that CLG side. And we'll see if they can really kind of make good on that. The second dragon going to be up in 30. I want to see Blaber continue to stack these. They have full bot lane prio, take dragons on spawn, move towards a potential Soul Win condition so that you can force CLG to come to you and fight before they're ready to do so.
All right, so that sounds good for a Cloud9 win condition. Now, if you're faithful that CLG can scale and execute here, what do you think is kind of the threshold that they got to keep this game within range of? Hold on. Might have an opportunity here for C9 to get a counterattack on Dhokla. Nice flash away from Big Dokes to escape the CC from Diplex's charm. That's going to ward away this dive. But you mentioned, back at 7 minutes, hey, 1K at 7 minutes feels bad. 1K at 14 minutes feels fine. What kind of a lead does C9 need to have to run away with this? And essentially, what does CLG have to stop?
I mean, I think that C9 is really looking to just push towards 3 quick dragons and then force on Soul, and that's going to be kind of like the pivot point of this game, right? Okay. So if CLG can actually take away a dragon or slow that down in some way to give themselves the extra 5-10 minutes to scale, I think they're going to be good. Because if CLG can get to 2 items before C9 is on 3, or 3 items before they're on 4, I feel like that's when their composition is really going to start to take over.
Okay, so pretty much staying close enough to be in striking distance of completed item total.
Yep, that's what I'm really looking at, right? And I think if CLG can take 1 dragon away, that buys them enough time to do that, and that's why they're looking for this. But C9 is here, so this is a pivotal fight. Diplex is moving down from mid lane. Ksante is already moving. Fudge has no TP, so this actually may just be CLG's dragon, which I think is actually quite bad for C9.
Okay, CLG forcing C9 away from it. Diplex trying to come around now, but Dhokla's already waiting in that pixel brush. Drake's got about 1,600 left. We could get a smite fight out of it, but no, Blaber's just gonna walk away, and CLG stops the dragon stack.
So now Fudge has basically got to try to get a full tower because there is no TP on either Dhokla or Palafox, so no one can go top. So this is the trade-off. You're going to get more gold for that dragon, but it puts a lot of the onus on Fudge to be able to make something happen in that 1v1. It's no longer okay for him to just kind of sit back and farm it out. Right. He's going to have to be able to push that advantage, take towers, draw pressure on the map, because they gave up that quick soul as a win condition, and it's going to be one that will be really good for their comp here, as we can see. Hextech Soul, nothing to scoff at with double marksman in that bot lane. It's going to feel really, really nice.
And you can see C9 also chose to drop the Rift Herald in bottom lane again, going back to that traditional Caitlyn calculus of how to play the game. You got to knock down bot lane turret first, then rotate her around everywhere else. There's 2 plates left on bottom lane, 2 plates left on top, but remember that second plate on top lane is mostly also killed by Fudge and the damage he was able to do with his Fiora. He has his Divine Sunderer completed because he didn't have to stop off for the completed boot, and for the Bramble Vest like his opponent, he's going to enjoy that power spike for a little while now. But like you said, it can't just be, hey, I'm beating him by some farm. We need to see some moves coming out of this Fiora. We need to see that side lane pressure.
Absolutely. They either have to be able to find a way to dive Dhokla or at least chunk him low enough that he has to leave the tower and then you take the tower. It's got to be these types of plays because I do think, with CLG having snuck away a dragon here, maybe C9 was okay to trade for gold, or maybe they weren't expecting Dhokla to actually make that move without having TP himself. But I think it's a smart play when you're playing a tank to sacrifice your own individual lead to secure the team advantage, right? And that's exactly what Dhokla did in this situation. So I think CLG is well and truly within striking distance, as long as they don't give up, one of those massive team fight aces or something that's really going to blow the game open. This gold lead, I think, is still totally fine for them with their comp.
Okay. 2.3K as turret plates fall. Drakes are even. Still only the 2 kills that were traded during the bottom lane dive that Cloud9 forced back at level 3. It's Berserker and Blaber topping the table in terms of total gold count, with Palafox being the only CLG player in the top 4 in terms of those big earners. It is Luger with his mythic item completed. He's the only one with a fully completed item on the side of CLG. Meanwhile, everybody on C9 except for Zven has theirs done. And I think this is kind of what you were talking talking about earlier is those completion comparison points. As long as you do not have an item and they do, CLG is not looking to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they just have to sit back and farm it out. You know, it may not be the style that everyone likes to play, but it is a very, very powerful style, and it's something that puts a lot of pressure on your opponents. You know, they are the ones who can make the aggressive moves, but they're also the ones that have to, or they're just going to be straight up losing as that clock is tick-ticking away. And you can see now, Luger starting to really get the pressure down here. They're going to drop second Herald top, so they're going to look for a crash on the tier 2. They take down that tier 1. Wukong's still sitting bot, so they want to at least get the crash, if not threaten a dive. It's possible that they could look for it, but would be risky. Blaber has to start. He's going.
They're just going in. Dhokla tries to get away. He flashes away from the Vi ulti, but it follows you wherever you may go. But he goes right back to help from his team. They've got the heal from Fiora, and now CLG may be able to find their counterattack. A 1-for-1, but Fudge is still in danger. Contractz gets a little bit more of a boost here from the Orianna. Speed enough to catch up, but it's riposted. Most of the damage is gone. Diplex over the wall. The outplay. It's Fudge again and again and again and again and again. He makes it happen for C9.
Oh my God, it's the year of Fudge. He's going off in the top lane. Him and Blaber diving deep. And insult to injury, they almost got the inhibitor turret from that because Shelly was still alive. Not only did they get the tier 2, not only did they get the outplay at low health and take down the extra man, they get the charge on the tier 3. That is dangerously close to Fudge just walking up, killing the tower in your face, and starting to threaten inhibitor now. And that is exactly what Cloud9 needed. That puts the game squarely in their favor.
Yeah, 1 minute ago you were telling me, hey, 2,500 gold ain't too bad as long as nothing extreme happens. And now not even 60 seconds afterwards, we got ourselves a lot bigger of a problem. Let's take a look again at how C9 executed the dive.
And C9 know Wukong was bot side, so they say, all right, we're going to go for this dive. You know, just straight in. Dhokla not paying the respect to know that they can actually look for this. He flashes it out late. He uses the ult to buy some space because Palafox was coming down to him. But this Fiora ultimate with the healing buys a little bit of time. Then Diplex comes in to try to peel. Diplex knows he has no cooldown, so he's just kind of kiting it back along the wall. And then watch this parry from Fudge. Beautiful stuff. Perfectly timed parry, procs the vital, gets the grass peel. Diplex comes over the wall, gets the ulti reset. Charm does land onto Palafox. Line him up, knock him down. Cloud9 looking so good. And now back to Dragon here. They want to fight, but now we have Cloud9 members. Blaber's on 2 full completed items here at 17 minutes. That is nuts.
CLG is going to want that chase back badly because this game is all of a sudden very, very scary. C9 onto the 3rd Drake of the game. They've got everybody down here this time. If CLG wants a piece of this, it's going to have to be 5 on 5 in open ground. Contractz goes in. They're looking to make this fight their own, but can they get the damage? Zven is down to 100 HP. He gets himself away and Contractz dies to Blaber. Dhokla can't find a way to intervene, and it's a double kill of a C9 jungler. Dhokla wants to escape, but the cupcakes are ready to catch him. He'll manage to hobble out, but it's 2 kills for nothing, and CLG struggle to fight back.
Yeah, they can't quite knock down Zven. It was a decent initial engage there, getting the CC on his Zven and Berserker, but Zven has the ultimate to try to keep his AD safe. And when you're ignoring the Vi and this Fiora, who are so strong at this point, they are going to be punishing you. If you're not getting those kills instantaneously, you're trying to fight through them. This gold lead on that top side of the map for Cloud9 is massive, and we are now 6.5k, 2 dragons to their name. Cloud9 really extending this advantage. Of course, it is not over just yet. We can watch this replay one more time. It's about the engage on this section up here. The TP's coming in from the bot side, so Diplex tries to time the charm, mistimes it unfortunately, but in goes Contractz there, gets the knockup. The ulti comes through, but credit to Zven. He gets the Kalista ultimate out before he gets charmed up. So he pulls Berserker out of the damage there. Yes, he gets very low. Yes, he has to spend his flash, but Berserker does not. And Berserker comes out of that at very, very high health. So critical timing there from Zven on the Kalista here, you know, showing off his skills on this pick. And with the early Umbral Glaive, you're nothing to scoff at, right? Like, you're on 1 quick completed item here with a Hail of Blades Kalista. Your damage is relevant in these fights.
I mean, he's got plenty of money, especially compared to a lot of the players on CLG, who are, as a team, nearly 7,000 gold behind. Honestly, that 1 Kim Drake they got earlier, they're probably pretty happy they got that, because if you were staring down the barrel of a soul point C9 that's 7,000 gold ahead, I would say it's already all over. Dhokla and Contractz try to collapse on Fudge, but the blast cone is there to get him away to safety. Contractz still trying to see if he can stop him here. sweeps the tri-brush, doesn't see him, so Fudge will just make a cheeky exit.
Yep. Yeah, and he doesn't have vision on a number of the members from the other side, so if you overchase there and all of a sudden Diplex or Blaber or whoever is waiting for you, could look pretty rough. Just continue to clear out vision, taking down another Scuttle here. Cloud9 moving the plan forward, making it look really, really good. CLG have got to try to look for plays like this, though, where they overload one side of the map to try to punish someone who is pushing heavily on that side. Blaber threatening here, charging up that Q, looking like he might go in, and they're going to go in now.
There's what they were looking for. They popped Zven, which means Berserker's vulnerable if they can follow up with anything else. But Fudge is ready to respond, a killing spree to take out Contractz. 1-for-1 trade, support for jungle.
Yeah, support for jungle and the flash, as well as some critical ultimates are used. Plus, they do chunk down the Karma. So they're going to continue trying to push here and try to knock down this last outer turret. They want to keep that pressure rolling. Will they feel a little bit nervous to do so? Okay, they're instead going to decide to just reset. Fudge is pushing down on bot side, so they want to reset, get their tempo up, not overstay on the map here, and give CLG too much of a window to kind of clear things out.
Fudge does have that second fully completed item in the Ravenous Hydra. You can see the scoreboard updating. Shadow Flame just completed there for Diplex on the Ahri as well. Compare that to their opponents. Thank you, Mr. Isaac. And man, it just does not look the same. A bunch of bits and parts sitting in the inventory of CLG. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. They're just immediately going to go in, follow it up with the damage. They don't even need the charm to connect. Luger is out of there, and Blaber's flash engaged seals the deal. Seraphine's, the biggest team fight tool they have, and with her down, I don't think C9's afraid of a Baron fight.
And you have 2 ADCs and a Kalista to rend and help you actually secure this. So as long as they time it well, it's not a 50-50, right? It is very heavily weighted towards Cloud9 here. Fudge is going to zone on the side. They are TPing Orianna up towards top lane, but in goes Fudge. He wants this.
Poome's trying to get out, but no! Diplex grabs the kill, and C9 managing to fight off CLG in this 2 versus 3 in their jungle. Contractz still trying to deal with Fudge, but the damage from Fiora is just way too much. Dhokla goes all out and tries to bring him back into a 1v1. Oh. But even on Ksante, I don't think you're winning those. C9 just keeping everybody out of town. They'll take the Baron, they'll take the jungle, they'll take the fight.
It's a thing of beauty. Cloud9 looking so damn clean here. Fudge with another monster game, just diving back behind Dhokla as he looks for the Q3, just slips behind him, makes him look a little bit silly there, able to push him off. Blaber and Diplex, doing a good job, Fudge and Diplex doing a really good job getting over the wall there to really make sure that there wasn't even a small chance of a steal. There was no way for CLG to be able to get in. It's a really confident move. Committing the ulti, getting the kill on Luger, straight to Baron, and now they're looking for more.
Luger again just getting caught by the Vi ulti, but this time they don't have enough manpower to take him down immediately. This might be CLG's counterattack they need. Luger finally dropped. Blaber buys a moment here in the stasis. Diplex comes in to reinforce, and Contractz can't get home. Zven grabs the kill. It did not matter that they only went after him with 2 dudes. They're 10,000 gold ahead.
It's a 2v5 and you can't even kill Blaber. Give him something. Jeez. CLG struggling here now. They had all 5 there early, trying to capitalize on an aggressive play, trying to punish something, but you said it, they're so far ahead. And Blaber had the stopwatch, got huge value out of it. Now it's a GA. He's on 3 items here. And Contractz is still on 1, so it is looking really, really tough. Berserker's got the IE done now as well, so he is locked and loaded, ready to go here. And Cloud9 looking like they have everything they could possibly need to close this one out.
Contractz lost his footing in this game at 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock, and he was never able to regain that footing. It's just felt like that shut everything down, and Cloud9 kept the pressure on.
I completely agree. I think it's a great callback from you. I can't remember the last time I saw a solo top lane invade like that got so much, right? It's such a rare play. It's one of those things, but it doesn't feel cheesy to me because they had all the knowledge to know that it wasn't risky. Fiora can't lose the 1v1 to a Wukong who's on his red buff, and you see all of their 4 members. So there's no risk here, right?
Well,
they're gonna go for the dive.
Like there's a whole lot of risk to a dive like this. Either Fudge goes on a rampage, Contractz and Luger go into the ground yet again.
They're running out of space to bury all these bodies. Blaber's not even going to lose his Guardian Angel just yet, as Dhokla at least turns it around, grabs one back on Zven, and will not die himself. Goes back to the fountain to heal up. C9's going to take the opportunity, grab themselves an inhib. It's still a 2-for-1 trade, but their health bars are dangerously low, so C9 calling it off after that.
Yeah, and no TP on Dhokla or anything, so like, there's no sort of flank that could be pulled off. Cloud9 going aggressive here. They know they still need to push up into the game. They don't want any shenanigans happening here. Don't want to risk anything. They want to have that killer instinct. They're massively ahead. They have the GA on buy, so you can afford to dive deep and try to trade kills like this to be able to take objectives, to be able to take the inhibitor and close it out. Contractz trying to get out here, trying to get something back. They do spot Blaber, but
Wait.
not going to be the day you catch Blaber.
No, sir. He's already gone. Even if you caught him, you had to catch him twice because he's Guardian Angel, so... he just walks right back in. He's like, oh, I'm not done. Let's go see what else he can find here. Just charges him. He does not even care. His nearest ally is 1,500 units away, and he just blind queues over the wall because he's ready to go. He sees a ward in the sweeper. He's like, I'm going to clear the ward. I don't care who's there.
Yep. I mean, he knows if they commit to him, he's going to live long enough that his team is going to arrive, right? He's playing Green Smite. He's got the Radiant. He's got the GA. If they full commit all their cooldowns to Blaber, which is what they would have to do to have a chance to kill him, well, you're just going to die as soon as Cloud9 wins. You know, as soon as they show up. We can see Fudge, you know, trying to trade here with Dhokla. Given as good as he takes, as Luger arrives, it is chunking him down, but it's top lane that is going to be the problem. Once these waves are synced up, you can see the top lane wave is coming in there. Bot lane wave is coming in again, and they're going to dive.
Dhokla on the Ksante can't even use the ulti. He's just immediately beat down, bursted out. And now I think they might be able to follow it up on Palafox, who flashes away to stay alive as Contractz tries to run some sort of interference. But it's a one-item Wukong, man. It's a 14,000 gold lead. It's another Seraphine death, and it's Berserker pulling the trigger. C9, 17 minutes, 17 kills in 26 minutes, 14,000 gold ahead. They make easy work out of CLG.
Man, Fudge is putting the league on notice. You can't let him play Ksante, and apparently you can't let him play against Ksante either, so... really great stuff here from Cloud9. So impressed by the early game play, by the early game planning. Was really, really intelligent. This level 1 invade effectively ruined Contractz' game, and Cloud9 were able to get so much off of this. You know, pushing Contractz back to base, level 1, blows his flash. Yes, he gets slightly behind in the 1v1 as a result, but then Blaber is so far ahead of the pace. They're able to pull off this really aggressive dive on bot lane, and they never took their foot off the gas pedal, right? They kept going for these aggressive plays. Blaber and Fudge on top side, you know, finding that dive onto Dhokla, then Diplex coming in. When they get that outplay on the escape, they knock down multiple turrets.